the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Featuring site publishers Carrie Murdoch and Josh McQuistion, along with videographer Eddie Radosevich. It's the unofficial 40 on Soonerscoop.com.
All right, welcome back. It is another edition of the unofficial 40 right here on Soonerscoop.com. As we took last week off because we were all in Atlanta covering the five-star challenge, the Rivals five-star challenge, as the opening has been going on early this week. But, man, a lot of stuff happened from the time we left to the time we returned. Eddie Radosevich spent his Saturday night partying with Paul George.
And Russell Westbrook. No big deal.
Did you actually interact with either one of them at all?
Yeah, I gave PG a high five.
That's
about it.
In a crowd among a lot of other people?
No, I was like right next to him. I was like, this is awesome. Congrats. He said, thank you.
That's impressive.
And then I went back and got more liqueur.
Heard the shrimp was pretty good.
I didn't have any of the shrimp.
You're not a seafood guy, though.
I had the cheeseburger. They had these little cheeseburgers that were amazing. They had these tacos that were pretty amazing.
The house wasn't trashed or anything after it was over with?
No, everybody was outside, so it was, I guess it could have been. I didn't spend too much time inside. I walked straight through, realized that the bar was too crowded in there, and went out back.
Steakhouse?
The what?
Nothing. Okay. Bob Przybylo joins us as well. Josh McQuistion. Man, it's been a long week for me. Josh McQuistion is here as well. He is back from Atlanta, even though I can't make fun of you, Josh, because I left my damn phone charger in the hotel room, but Josh left his laptop charger. At least he's going to get it back, though, apparently.
Yeah, we've connected. Woody Womack coming through in the clutch on that for me. But yeah, I am. And guys, I guess, am I alone in this? Do you guys have Carrie? I know you do. I'm just sure you do. Bob, Eddie, do you guys have backup power cords for your computers?
Nope, I don't.
I might have one that's laying around.
Eddie does thanks to me.
Yeah, Carrie might have given me another one.
Okay,
but I didn't.
It never occurred to me to have one.
We do backup power supplies.
I've ever left it.
Yeah, we do backup power supplies over here.
I didn't have one when I just had a Mac, though. I think I just
Eddie's
only had
so
one.
many different computers. We have several power supplies. We have like a whole shop. We could rebuild a computer out of his past computers.
If you remember, the first game I was with you guys was the OU West Virginia game, and I left mine in the stadium. Carl Anderson had to come with me and get it Monday morning.
Weren't working for us. I just want to make that clear. I did learn this about Bob. I just don't want people to think we hire idiots. I will say this. Bob Przybylo we found his calling in this company. He is totally OCD about making sure flights are checked in.
Gotta get my window seat.
Because I wait for the alert to say, hey, check-in is now available. Bob says, that.
It's 24 hours. Exactly.
And he goes and completely books, because he and Eddie were booked together. And my notification came up. I got B17. I thought I was great. And I said, Bob, what'd you get? And he was like, A20.
Oh, we were in the 40s, I think.
Yeah.
The real psychos are the ones that are A1. How do you get that? Is A1 the most?
You pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pay.
You pay, and you pay early. So you get that flight.
They pay for a more expensive ticket.
Right.
Just to get on the plane early?
It's $15 per person to get on the plane early. I'm not paying $90 for three of us to fly back and forth.
That doesn't make sense why somebody would do that.
I know. You're going to get on the plane. You're going to get a window seat, as long as you're just not a chub.
Yeah, as long as you get in the 40s or even the 60s, you're fine.
In A's, yeah. Really, B20.
The real psychos are the ones that don't want to sit on the window. They get A20 or whatever, and then you find them, they're on the aisle.
I want the middle seat on row 7.
Do you guys know the people that are killers? The people that prefer row to window. They're homicidal. There's no way. I don't know. There are people out there that prefer the row.
If Eddie is on the window, I'll take the row.
You can take the row because you can get out quicker.
Yeah.
You gotta go to the restroom.
By the way, I wanted to kick a guy's ass this week because you know those guys that they sneak up and they think that they can just dart past everybody without waiting.
Yes.
I hate those sons of bitches.
That's a guy on the row.
And there was a guy that did that, and I blocked him.
Here?
Or
coming here?
It was from Atlanta to Dallas.
So on the plane that we were on together?
Yes.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, he was a guy in an orange shirt. I did say, I said something to you. You were running, but you let people go. You broke the whole system.
Because I had to get my bag.
Because you have a huge bag.
I had 2 bags.
And by the Atlanta
security
is, my God, I thought they were gonna ask me to show my scrotum. In order to get on the plane.
That would have been awkward.
I'm TSA pre. I don't know what you guys have to deal with. It's got to be tough.
The TSA pre was a longer line than
it was
regular.
That was some shit. It was a long line when I went too. It was way worse. But you just roll up and they're like, whatever, throw your knives in that bin. It'll be fine.
We ran into a guy that needed to be reminded that he works at an airport.
Yeah, but it's also a guy that can throw you in a room and make you miss your flight.
Yeah, that's true.
I get really nervous.
He was the reason everything was so backed up.
I get really nervous in those situations because I know Eddie's a little bit of a hothead.
He was, too.
And he was being a dick to me, too. He made me take every single thing out of my camera bag, body, multiple lenses, anything that was electronic. Like, I've never seen that before. But Eddie, he kept telling Eddie his bag was too big. And Eddie was like, "Step up, bitch." I mean, like,
I was like, I've flown with this bag 1,000 times.
I know.
And I've never had this problem.
Big. Yeah.
See, we know I'm not a hothead, but I would be with Eddie. I have real problems with authority. Like Tiffany is constantly like, be nice to the police officer. Your dog.
Well, I don't have it wasn't as much of like a problem with the authority as much as he was just wrong.
Because Eddie gets bomb sniffed every time too.
I know the
without
shtick
fail
that you have to go through.
Without fail, he gets bomb searched.
It's because of all the wires in the bag for the camera and stuff. But
and plus, you have a metal case.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't the smartest thing for me to buy you that.
Well, thanks a lot, Bin Laden.
So anyway, the reason that I got to say, Southwest, I know people get online and go on Twitter and beef about, Southwest was a great airline to fly on all week.
And I still haven't ever had like a massive meltdown at the airport as far as like...
Your attitude?
No, like being delayed, being kicked off of a plane because it had to get diverted or whatever. Like you always hear those horror stories. Still hasn't happened to me.
Mine are always work-related. Carrie, we had the thing years ago in Memphis, and we had to drive from Memphis to Oklahoma City.
Oh, we had to drive.
Hey,
let's remind everybody what this went. Let's remind everyone how this went. So we're in Memphis. It's our connecting flight. We're coming back from Nashville, or what the how do we get... God, I'm the cusser today. How did we
that's what it was. We had a connecting flight, and we only had like a 40-minute window to begin with.
How do you go from Nashville to Memphis to Oklahoma City? That's like... So anyway, yeah, and the weather was bad. The flight was late, and literally we could have made... They were boarding the plane. We were right there. But they canceled our flight regardless, even though we could have made it. And so it was the last flight of the night. And they're like, okay, mattresses are out here. And I was like, I've never heard of this before. Like, you want me to put a mattress on a floor and sleep here and wake up in the morning? We're in Memphis, and we live in Oklahoma City. I was like, F that. See, that's the third one. I am not sleeping in this airport. Let's go get a rental car and drive all the way home. And this was midnight or so. I mean, it wasn't that late, but it's 8 hours to drive home. And so... we just drove home. Well, I drove home, and Josh slept in the car the whole way. And he woke up, oh, thanks for bringing me home.
I want you to know, like, I don't sleep in moving vehicles, Carrie, so it speaks to my comfort level with you. I trusted you to get me home safely, and I just want you to know, all these years later, there's still that trust. I really appreciate that.
I will say this. I'm not real big on letting other people drive. I think when we went to St. Louis, it was the first time I ever let somebody else drive the rental. To go see Ronnie Perkins and Michael.
And that was
Thompson.
me for everybody out there listening. So,
and by the way, can I say,
I drove. I drove in Knoxville.
Oh, that's right. It's any time that I've just hit the wall. That's what. But I also woke up screaming when Eddie was driving my car.
We were gonna get kickoff.
It was
we
raining.
Were gonna get there.
It was raining.
We had to get there,
and we were going through the mountains. And Eddie's taking curves at 90 miles an hour in mountains. And I'm like, Eddie, what the hell are you doing? Slow down.
The Lex drives well. We were just testing it out.
It has summer tires on it. It's not meant for rain and tight curves in mountain ranges.
Had we have known, we would have just ran over Jacob Phillips.
And by the way, we had to do that because they canceled your flight in Oklahoma. And I was like, screw it. We'll drive.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That is right. That's why we drove to Knoxville.
We were not going to get there.
That was Friday, too, wasn't it?
And then you flew back. I made sure you kept your flight. So I took you to the airport. You flew back, and then I drove back.
Was that a Friday?
That game was on it. I mean, it was a Friday when we drove.
Yeah,
we drove all night.
Okay. Couldn't remember.
Or maybe it was a Thursday.
No, it was a Friday because
it's a Friday.
We got there the day of the game.
Yeah, the game was Saturday night, and then a lot of us went straight from the stadium airport for the 6 a.m.
I think
flight.
we stopped in like Jackson or something. We stopped somewhere and slept for like 2 hours and then got up and left.
Yeah, that might be right. No, that's what we did for Jacob Phillips. We just drove all the way through for
we did
Knoxville,
okay. Okay, so anyway, the purpose of all these stupid travel tangent is that we were at the 5-Star Challenge in Dallas, in Atlanta. The camp went really, really well, I thought. I mean, here's the thing. Like, the opening is having like 3 days of 7-on-7. You don't need all that shit. It's 7-on-7. Nobody's going to remember in the annals of history who won the opening 7-on-7. Get them out there, watch them throw the ball around. You're done. Boom. Have them run some 40s, some agilities. Boom, you're done. Send them home. 4 days at this shit is way too much.
Yeah. That's
Plus,
what I've been saying
Rivals, we have a media
months.
day, so you actually get to hear from kids.
Now, the thing with 4 days, those kids will lose their competitive fire eventually. You even see that at a one-day event where they've done what they wanted to. Now it's like, okay, I'm just going to chill out, relax. You're definitely going to see that either today or definitely tomorrow.
Plus, you got to take care of all the idiots, because trust me, not all these kids are angels. There are plenty of idiots at these. There were idiots in Atlanta. There'll be idiots in Dallas. I mean, what people don't realize is you have to post security at these things to keep kids from sneaking off.
Yeah, I got back one night, and we were staying on a floor with a bunch of players, and it was pretty late in the morning when I walked in, and there was a guy like sitting at the end of the thing. I was like, "Oh, what's up, man?
What's up, cop? You a cop?
Getting in." No, he's a security guard. He was Securitas.
Yeah, when you're going to these
Fake cop.
locations, it's a lot harder than going Beaverton. I don't know what you could have done.
Yeah,
there.
you can't really get in a lot of trouble there. If you're in Frisco, there's a lot of stuff to get in trouble with.
Did you guys hear in Atlanta that one of the kids got caught trying to take an Uber?
Yes, I did hear that.
Yes, heard that.
So we won't out anybody, but
More
I mean,
power to 'em.
I think that's the thing fans don't think about. Like, these guys are still kids that are off on their own for one of the few times in their young lives, so they do crazy shit all the time.
If somebody flew me
applaud
free
that.
to Atlanta, I would want to go to whatever strip clubs it is that Lil Wayne's been singing about in all of his stuff over the years.
Ooh,
Do you think, like, Uber should
18 and
like
under?
just have a? Go ahead.
Just a little 18 and under strip club.
Oh, you don't. I bet they don't card. I mean, if you're a football player, you look.
Yeah, shit.
Way
Some of
more
those
than
guys
18.
probably look older than I do.
Most of them. No, but there's some club or something there, or maybe there's somebody performing that they wanted to go see.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder on a weekday, I guess, than a weekend, but same difference.
It's trouble. So anyway, yeah, 4 days is a lot to spend. Let's just talk about Atlanta, kind of what we saw. Of course, everybody saw wide receiver MVP was Trejan Bridges. Theo Wease had a really interesting day in Atlanta, and I guess Josh, feel free to kind of just start off with your thoughts on what you took out of Atlanta.
Well, the thing that kills me is everything about my travel. We've talked enough about travel, but it all went really well except for the fact that I pretty much missed everything that made Trejan Bridges' weekend good. when I left, I thought, well, okay, he just – and it wasn't like he'd had a bad day. There were just things kind of like when Bob and I were at Nike in Dallas that I just didn't get to see him do things because quarterbacks were missing him, or you had a few cases where corners had grabbed him. It would have been a pass interference in any game in the world. There was stuff like that was happening, and you were just like, man. And then as soon as I leave, I start hearing from you guys that he just had an unbelievable evening, and they'd end up winning the championship. When I left, his team looked awful, and so it just that stuff can get frustrating sometimes with me just having to leave to get to the airport. But with kind of beyond that, I mean, the thing that sticks out to me is I'm not sure. Even though Theo Wease literally went head-to-head with Derek Stingley, for those that don't know, the number one player in the Rivals 100.
Yeah, just not the number one corner in the country. Number one overall
Theo
player,
beat him over and over and over again. I saw them go head-to-head at least 5 times, and I know Theo got him 4 or 5. And the 5th one was just was a drop that Theo was like, he was there. It was great coverage, but I should have made the play. And even with those two matched up, the top one-on-one matchup you could find according to our rankings, and it just didn't seem like it was getting the credit it was due. And I hate to kind of chime in with OU fans there, but there was such a I left the morning session, I kept hearing, Jaden Hazelwood looks great, and he did. Jaden Hazelwood's a great player. Don't misunderstand me, but it was just weird to me that Theo Wease was not almost instantly part of the number one player in the country conversation. Like, is he the best guy here? It felt like that should have been happening.
Well, and that's partly because you had to leave to get to your flight, and what you didn't really see. Like, I watched it from the beginning. Like, I know you guys were kind of over there watching probably Bryce Young a little bit because he was going against Trejan Bridges' team. I was over there watching Theo Wease's team, who mainly had some DBs that we were looking at. There were some young linebackers. And one of those wasn't even Justin Flowe, but he was going up against Theo was going up against the Elias Ricks kid, and it's not that he was locking him down, but like I don't know if Helsinki was his quarterback, but nobody was looking in Theo's direction, so like he could have run slants all he wanted on Ricks and been wide open every time. But nobody was throwing him the ball until like they needed to get an extra point or something like that. And you could tell it just got more and more frustrating with him. And I think he wanted to move into the slot because he was playing on the outside and nobody was looking to the outside. And then eventually something happened. And I saw him come out of the huddle. And he's like, you don't want me on the inside? And then I guess he just decided he was going to switch to defense. So he started kind of goofing off. And I think people that watched that said, okay, he's not really into this anymore. Like, not that he insulted anybody, but it just was an awkward look.
It was, but it was almost like he did what he set out to do during the first session.
Yeah.
He wanted to prove himself against Stingley. He even mentioned that when I talked to him after, that he was very pumped up about that one-on-one matchup, but I think he probably got a little discouraged. Ball wasn't coming his way. And I'm sure some of these kids said, I want to save myself for Frisco, too. Yeah. I want to make sure I got something left in the tank when I get there. And he did for that last hour, just played corner, basically.
And it's not like he was playing a great corner. I mean, he was just mimicking the receivers that were. You could tell he hadn't played a whole lot of corner. He was really far off the ball. I mean, if they would have. There were some tackles that he probably didn't make that they gave him credit for in open field.
And you mentioned him going from outside the slot. Trejan Bridges did the same thing because when he was on,
and that's what got him going.
On the outside, he didn't get looked at.
Yeah.
When he moved into the slot, all of a sudden he became the number one target over and over. So there's something about that position for this event where it just seemed like quarterbacks were.
It's almost like it's almost like quarterbacks. They trust throwing it into the middle of the field because they can see everybody. When they're throwing it to the outside, it's like they're always worried about somebody that might be coming out that they can't really see or something like that. I don't know if that's what, if that's part of it, but yeah, it's just those guys that are way on the outside, unless you're going to throw a jump ball to them, they really don't get that involved in 7-on-7.
It's a camp.
I mean, granted, it's stupid, but we have to talk about it.
Exactly.
I hate the 7-on-7 stuff. It's my least favorite part of these camps. I mean, I much prefer to watch the drill work. I much prefer to watch one-on-ones because at least one-on-ones, you know the guy that you're watching is going to have the ball thrown at him.
And then what you start to see, too, is Bo Nix especially start to grow a chemistry with Bridges, start to really understand what he does so well.
Yeah.
And they start to really work that. And there were even defenders calling out what Trejan was doing. That was one of my favorite parts. Like, he's either going to do a slant or he's going to do a slant and then go to outside. And they still couldn't stop it.
I was confused. You guys tell me what you think. I guess it's because it's the first time I'd seen him, so his physical stature, his arm strength, maybe not what I thought it was going to be. And I'm talking about Bryce Young. But, like, you read all these reports and the other players and stuff, and they're like, oh, Bryce Young was one of my favorite players at camp. So, did I just see it wrong, or because I'll be honest, I didn't sit there and follow Bryce Young and all of his reps in 7-on-7 work. But just off the hoof, I just kind of thought, he looks okay.
He was someone that took time to get settled in. His first 2 7-on-7 games looked like a train wreck, where he couldn't lead them to any type of score, and then Grant Gunnell would come in, and then the blue team would actually score. But, yeah, I mean, by the end of the day, I mean, we saw all those guys talk about how much fun it was to play with him, and maybe that's part of it too, just the chemistry that he built up with those guys, his personality. Maybe that spoke louder than what he actually did in terms of mechanics and things of that nature.
But you're right, like, Gunnell just dwarfed him. Like, is height-wise, I mean, like, Bryce Young really is one of those guys, like, if he becomes a really good player, people are going to be like, he's probably not 6 foot. He just kind of has that, he doesn't have that overwhelming size.
How pissed did Bryce have to be that he got teamed with Grant? Because, like, it only accentuates the issue.
Yeah,
like, he couldn't have got
Grant's
stuck
the
with,
tallest. I say Helsinki and Grant were probably... Yeah.
Helsinki, Carey, not Helsinki.
Helsinki? I guess,
I thought you were doing that on purpose earlier, so I let that
The whole thing about his brother is so traumatizing to me. Like, I almost don't want to pronounce his last name. I think that's what it is. Helsinki, yeah.
So you just make a joke of his last name?
No! Shut up! Shut up. I'm not doing that. Eddie, start telling your 9/11 joke series. Save me. Okay, I'm just kidding.
It's out of character.
I'm just kidding.
I would never do that.
So, Helsinki. Yeah, I don't know why. Anyway.
It was a good story, though, if anybody wants to read it in Sports Illustrated.
Oh, the Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible. I mean, that's just a horrible
and a super
deal.
good family. Like, Bob and I know them from back when the oldest brother of the group
Kelee
was dying to be an OU quarterback, and came in camp several years.
2013 class.
God, does it seem a lot longer ago than that to you, Bob? Like, I feel like that should be like 2010 or something.
He wanted
that feels
it.
like forever ago.
Braden Scott wanted it, and then Cody Thomas was the guy.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that came through camp that year trying to get that. And hold on. Who did they lose out? Who was was Max Brown? Was it? It was Max Brown
for 2013. Yeah.
Wow.
Scrub.
Man, he's terrible. I mean, even at Pitt, he's terrible.
Well, he's gone now.
He was terrible. Now he's not.
No,
terrible
he's still
anywhere.
terrible. He's not. As long as he's alive, he's still terrible. So, but anyway, Josh, what did you think about what you saw about Bryce Young?
I liked some of the pieces. Like, there's some accuracy there. I liked some of that. It's always a little scary when you get into a kid at his age that I know has worked with a quarterback's coach forever, and you see some mechanical issues that are not just, about like release point and some of those things that, some guys can just overcome those and they don't matter. But when you have a long kind of slow release, he
drops way down, too.
Timing-based offense, that's scary.
He drops way down when he throws it.
Yep.
It's almost like it's like a 3/4 delivery in baseball, which if you're as tall as he is, you need to be up on your toes throwing that thing.
Yeah, you're like elbow needs to brush your ear as it leaves your hand. You know what I mean? It's that you need every inch you can get, and he just doesn't take it. And Is it a make or break deal? No. I mean, obviously, Bryce Young, you can go look at the tape. He's a really good football player. But there are things – he didn't wow me. I thought he was going to be one of those guys, and they'd stick him in the 7-on-7 setting, and he would just blow up, and he'd just be unbelievable, might be the best quarterback there. And I didn't see that at all. I mean, I'm not a big Grant Gunnell fan, and like Bob said, Grant, for the large portion of that camp, outplayed him.
Well, and I think you also have to point out the kid's a year younger than everybody else. Sure. Sometimes kids get intimidated in that. I mean, I'm trying to think of guys in that setting before. I mean, I remember being underwhelmed the first time I ever saw Leonard Fournette, and he was at the very first Rivals Challenge at Atlanta, and thinking, oh, this is the next Adrian Peterson? I don't see it. But then the next year when he came back, he looked like a much more confident player. And I was like, even though I wasn't just completely blown away, I still didn't think he was Adrian Peterson. I thought he was a much better player. I mean, he was
different. He's a junior going into high school.
Yeah.
And to Eddie's point above, when Leonard was a young guy at that camp in Atlanta, he still looked like he could be all of our fathers. Like he was. Oh, he's been old since he was like 12.
Yeah.
And I think Zach Evans could be that guy next year.
Oh, he looked good.
He's a monster. Yeah, just a monster.
The cleats kind of tripped him up in the cat and mouse, and then Justin Flowe took him down, so he missed the second part of the day. But he's someone that if he shows up again next year, I think we'll be talking the same way, that he was just night and day different.
Who do we talk to?
OU fans, we'll just get this in real quick because I don't know how involved OU is going to be with Justin Flowe. He is the guy that you absolutely love if he is on your team because that kid has a motor that will not stop. He wants to win every rep. Hell, I saw him racing guys in drills. He's just wired that way. But if you play against him, like say he went to Texas, OU fans would hate him forever. I mean, he is.
He was taking cheap shots at kids.
Things like when it's yours,
it was the most awesome thing of all time.
He's doing the same thing at the opening because he kind of broke out with a video this morning about doing the same exact type of thing, about being way too physical in a non-physical setting.
So awesome. He's one of my favorite players.
If there were flags in one-on-one, his tackle on Zach Evans would have been. I mean, I'm watching soccer right now. That's a red card. Like he's done for the day.
Well, no, that was the thing. Some people were upset because it felt like he directly attributed to Zach Evans getting hurt. Which
I don't think there's any question.
I mean, he hurt Zach Evans? How about that?
Yeah, I mean, like
that's
I said,
when I say he's a shithead, I don't mean like he's a bad kid. I just mean he's that Jason Sutherland. I mean, like the old Missouri guard.
I was going to say
way back in time with that one.
Okay, I'm old. All right.
No, Jason Sutherland and Derek Grimm. I hated both of those dudes. I know exactly who you're talking about.
No, but he's that irritant. I mean, he's the guy that, like Eddie said, if he's playing at Texas, you're going to hate his guts.
He's the guy that.
But he's also a guy. I mean, he's kind of like Travis Lewis. His attitude's kind of that same thing. It's kind of cocky and kind of, kind of like, I don't care what you think. I'm going to go out here and play really well. But his body shape is more like Curtis Lofton, though. He's kind of got that, as Brent Venables would call it, the juicy booty.
He's thick. Two C's.
The perfect one that is relevant today. He's Patrick freaking Beverly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except super talented. Like Justin Flowe. I mean, Justin Flowe could be awesome without being that intense. Like he was running downfield with Zach Evans and some coverage stuff, and Zach Evans is a legit 4'4" elite athlete at running back, and Flowe is covering him down the field like no linebacker has any business doing. So I mean, it's
as Eddie said, he is just finishing it up as a sophomore. By the time he gets to college, I fully expect Justin Flowe, neck tattoo.
That'd be sweet.
Matt Barnes, right there with him.
He probably needs to add it. He needs to get an arrest, too.
Oh, my God, no. How about not that? Well, he's not coming to he's not going to Stanford if that's the case. Or
that kid's not going to Stanford.
Would you love to see a guy like that at Stanford, though? I mean, if he's going to go anywhere, let some guy, super cocky, irritant guy go to Stanford. Like, that would be awesome. If you knew he was smart enough. Like, Richard Sherman wasn't Richard Sherman when he was at Stanford.
Well, think about the guy who took the shot on Adrian Taylor.
I'm sorry, you went nuclear on us. Think about what now?
think about the guy that took out Adrian Taylor. Let's not act like Stanford's not afraid to play some physical nasty.
Yeah. We could probably ask Gerald McCoy.
Yeah,
about
but they're
that.
also represented by one of the softest humans in the entire world. Not David Shaw, Bryce Petty. Or not Bryce Petty. God.
What?
I just had a complete...
You were talking about Andrew Luck?
No, the running back. Bryce Love.
Bryce
Love.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a little soft.
A little soft? He missed like 3 series because he was bleeding on his finger last year.
Yeah, that's true.
He also played through the bowl, like basically with one ankle.
Well, wasn't very good.
He's only tough enough to have just the ankle. When you add fingers to it, he calls it a day.
Stanford's the only school outside of USC in the Pac-12 that acts like they care about football.
I love watching Stanford play football. All they want to do is just beat the crap out of you.
I think Cal could care if they're good.
Cal?
Yeah.
I don't know. They got too much weird shit going on their campus. People living in trees and stuff.
Yeah, but they also had the guts. I'm speaking in Eddie language. They also had the guts to bring in Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, they have. That gives them a lot of street cred.
Because he didn't pass anything.
Except doobies.
Well, it is legal there.
Yeah, that's true. UCLA. I guess Washington's not bad. I'd probably check
By
out
the way,
Washington.
So medical marijuana was legalized while we were in Atlanta.
Congratulations to everybody.
Do we feel that helps
Bab day
recruiting
for
for easy on the Baptist? Do we feel
it was a bad day for them?
Do we feel that is a recruiting boost to Mike Gundy and Lincoln Riley?
Probably not, because you still have to get a medical card.
You think that's
and you're still subject to NCAA rules. It's not just because it's legal for them. That, if they
you think
test
that
negative,
you don't think that people are smoking? They just
They're gonna grow their 12 pounds.
Yeah, in their dorm room.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
those commercials
I don't know
great.
what you guys did in college, but that was happening on my watch anyway. So,
what do you think I've already started doing with my backyard?
Harvesting.
Guys, I don't know what Bob, you and Kerry went home that early on. What was that, Wednesday night? I mean, I don't know what you and Eddie thought we were doing while we were celebrating, but I mean, we were excited about it. 788. So
we're smoking spliffs.
Got your jewel ready?
Yeah. I don't think it'll be it will be kind of interesting.
I'm asking a stupid question.
I wonder if they will have to talk about that though with families when they come in. I wonder if that will ever be brought up. Probably not.
I guarantee.
I don't know. As long as it's only medically, I don't know. That's a good question. If you're going to Colorado where it's just legal recreationally,
yeah,
I definitely think you have to have that talk.
Shit, there's more states, almost more states than not, that have some type of medical or free, not free, but open.
God,
I mean, think about how many college students are just growing in their dorms all over the country. Then
I know, it's just
wild.
Makes me sick. I lose sleep over it at night.
Because you couldn't do that when you were in college?
I didn't say I couldn't. It just makes me sick thinking about it. I mean, these kids are growing up.
Oh, how they're going to ruin their lives?
Yeah, they're just straight down the... Listen, it would have... There were but there were a couple football players I knew in school that they made a living doing that. So, it works out both ways.
Okay, so defensively, we got to see Jordan Clark. Got to see
his dad was there.
I noticed his dad way before I noticed him. And the Gant kid was had an interesting camp. Kind of got sat down during one-on-ones for punching somebody in the face off the line. And I mean, I'm just trying to think of guys that who really stood out to you guys defensively in camp. Bob, we'll start with you.
Elias Ricks, the 2020.
Yeah.
He
picked up the DB MVP.
Yeah, he didn't look like a 2020 kid when you saw him
really long kid.
Yes, very long. Yeah, I mean, I know OU's doing great with Darian Green Warren, and hopefully DGW can try to work some magic with Ricks, because I don't think OU's right there, in his top list at this point.
Kid from Arizona is extremely athletic.
Oh yeah, the Kelee
Ringo.
Ringo.
Awesome name.
Got me fast as shit. I mean,
Yeah.
my
That's a 5-star waiting to happen. Like that guy. Eddie and I saw him at check-in, and I was like, Eddie, that's a 2020 corner. And I don't think Eddie processed it at first. I was like, no, that's a corner. He looks like a linebacker. For people at home that can't visualize it, he looks like a 2020 outside linebacker. He's every bit of 6'1.5",
if not an
190
outside
pounds.
receiver.
He's
I mean,
And he's in his first year at corner because he told me he just made that move when he transferred from Washington to Arizona. So
Just to put it in perspective, he reminded me a little bit. I don't hate to bring up a name that will cause commotion on the corner, but he reminded me a little bit of Will Sunderland after his first year in Norman. Like, that's how big the kid is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit shorter, but the same type of frame.
was he running 6'2"?
You got
Legit.
Who, Will
Yeah,
or-
Will. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Ringo.
Oh, no. I think he's probably a little bit shorter than 6'2".
Yeah, it's 6'1"
Not
some
quite.
change, I would think. He was a little taller than me.
But yeah, I mean, he ran the fastest individual time in the 40s, and those were, those
funny
were
how
the
those,
laser time. It was a legit 4, 5, 6.
It's funny how those
Nobody
those
was
40
hitting
times
4.4s or 4.3s
Right.
on that track.
go up a little bit.
What I loved is the few guys that tried to jump in at the end because they saw these kids running 4.6. Were like, well, hell, I'm faster than that.
And then one
they
kid
went
ran a
up to Chris,
5.9 or a 4.9.
they're
I mean,
and then one of them, again, we'll leave leave him unnamed. Was
We'll
like,
leave him out.
yeah, I'm not running the second one. We're like, yeah, I bet you're not.
Going back to Ringo, Spencer Rattler working on him hard.
yeah, you talked to him about his relationship with
I
Spencer.
did.
Rattler.
So it's all Rattler at the moment. When you talk to, you can see right now he has no clue where he wants to go, where he wants to visit. He has no schedule. It just sort of, hey, I can get out to this place on this date because he has no clue when he'll make his next visit anywhere.
I'll be honest. I didn't get to see a whole lot of offensive line, defensive line while we were there. I don't know how many of you guys saw or if anything stood out. I mean, Wilkins, I know Bob got to see a little bit of him, and he held his own. I didn't get to see much of Marcus Stripling or Prince Dorbah while we were there. I don't know if anybody else kind of caught any of that.
I saw Prince Dorbah. I think he's a really good player, obviously, but I kind of like him. I'd circle him as a guy that was decent.
I want to see him at.
Stripling didn't take a lot of reps, so he was kind
Right.
of hard to watch. But when I did see him, he was good. He just didn't go a lot.
I kept waiting. It's like I'm done waiting. I'm going to move something else. But when you go back to Dorbah, I'd like to see a more outside backer. I think that's more the role that he would play if he went to Norman.
Just like I say, that's what I've been told is that he's definitely more of a, I guess you'd say, more of a Mike Soups target than a Calvin Thibodeau target.
Yep.
To kind of
Yeah.
put it into plain speak. Stacey Wilkins, and you guys, Bob, specifically you, because you've been with me every time I've seen him. You were at Under Armour, the Adidas Dallas, you were at Nike Dallas, then you were this with me. He gets better every time I see him. He really, there is just a massive amount of potential in that guy. And watching him go against some really elite national guys, several of those kids, man, and Bob, you were there with me on the one, his first 2 reps, where he just ate the guy up. I mean, really just used his wingspan. The kid couldn't do anything with him. And once he starts to put on strength and guys can't, because in those camp settings, bull rushing is kind of not allowed, so you can't really do it, or at least you're not supposed to.
Yeah, it's taboo,
And
but people still kind of.
yeah, some guys still do, and that's going to give Stacey trouble because he's just so long and lean right now. But when
And
he gets
it did.
big and can kind of build out his base, you're not going to beat him for quickness. And then at that point, I don't know what you do with him. Like I said, I think if you told me, there were 5 offensive tackles in the country that have just the true elite potential, he'd be one of my 5. Now he may. There's a long road to go to get there, but if you give him the time, I think he can be pretty special.
When it comes to Wilkins, I feel like this happens with some of those kids that don't play against elite kids on a weekly basis. His confidence keeps growing with each event as he realizes he belongs on this stage. And he's a little timid at the Rivals Regional. Then you saw his personnel come out a little bit more at the Nike. And then last week he was carrying himself around like a top guy. Like he had finally clicked in his head that there's no skepticism here. He belongs at this event. He is one of those top guys. And when you get that mentally, then you start seeing physically with the way that he performed. I thought he had another solid day.
Do you guys think just Jordan Clark is going to be hampered by his size overall as a corner?
A little. I had a chance to see him, and I told Kerry, I don't know if you heard this. I saw Jordan at the Houston Nike camp, and not Nike, Houston Adidas camp, and I literally walked over the kid knowing he had no connection to Oklahoma. I was like, man, you had an incredible day. You really, he really was impressive. But I never thought we would probably ever talk again. I followed him on Twitter after that, but it was just one of those things. Like, he impressed me, and I thought maybe he wasn't getting his due, because I think at that point he had like Indiana and UL Lafayette and some of that stuff. So I mean, nothing that sticks out. And then I had heard literally the morning of check-in that he was a guy that OU was starting to pick up on, and so I needed to ask around a little bit. So we did the interview, and he was. For anybody that hasn't watched that video that Eddie put up on the board, it'll run on the front page here in the next day. But regardless, he is a incredibly likable kid. He's a guy you want in your locker room. Like he comes off as well as anybody we interviewed all week, and really probably anybody we've interviewed in the 2019 class. He is eminently comfortable and just very relatable. So, but beyond all that, Kerry, you're right. I mean, guys, what would you say, 5'9"? I mean, maybe 5'9.5". I mean, He's small.
Right.
There's no question. But he's got great feet, obviously great bloodlines, dad being longtime Steelers safety, Ryan Clark. There's a lot to like there. My issue with it is, and I put this in our Friday notes, kind of I put up the next morning after I got home, I don't know where he fits into the plans, because everything I've been explained is that Oklahoma's looking at two corners. Well, they feel really good about Jaded Davis, and as we've talked a lot about in notes over the last really couple of weeks, but this goes back a couple of months that Scoop has been talking about OU was in a better place with Woody Washington than most people realized. And I don't know that you can choose Jordan Clark over either of those guys. And so if you're only taking two, where does he actually fit in?
Right. I mean, that's really
and
the question.
To me, he's a nickel guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know that you can put him out there as a corner on receivers all over the place. I mean, if you get a 6'2",
guy.
like, can you imagine him on
Marcel Aitman?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Marcel Aitman would eat his lunch. I mean,
do you know what that makes me think of? Like that visual. You remember when Nebraska had the Grigsby kid that was like 5'8"? He was really good, but he was small, and OU just threw those jump balls to Malcolm Kelee over and over and over again, and it just killed him. It just ate him alive.
So, yeah, I mean, after I watched him, I thought his only chance at OU really is to be a nickel guy.
And that's the question, is do they want five guys in the secondary? We think we know their corner. Obviously got Jamal Morris. Spot's always open for Dax. Do they want a fifth guy? And does Jordan Clark check all the boxes to be that fifth guy?
Hang on. Just to clarify, everything I understand is the only way that, as things currently stand, that OU would have 5 DBs was if Dax Hill was part of the class. They want two safeties. If
Woody Washington fits in there.
Yeah, well, I think in an ideal world it'd be Woody Washington, Jaded Davis, Jamal Morris.
Okay.
The other safety is a questionable thing. What's interesting is I don't know if Dax jumped on board, would they then be done at safety, or maybe that's the way they look at Jordan Clark. Maybe that's how they see him fitting in. That if we can get Dax and Jamal, then we can take this other corner that we really like. I'm not quite. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people have to understand, these things are moving targets. It's never like, there's so many times I can think through the years I've been told, OU's not after that guy, that door's closed, blah, blah, blah. And then 3 months later, the dude signs with OU. I mean, stuff changes because of things that are going on with current players, things that are going on in recruiting other players. I mean, there's so many ways things can move. You don't quite know, but my impression is that if there's 5 players in this class, Dax Hill will be one of them. And that's pretty much the only way they're thinking of 5 DBs right now.
And I think it changes even more now with Kerry Cooks because of the way he keeps those lines of communication open with so many guys.
True.
To where you know,
I mean, a guy could suddenly come out of nowhere. Say Jaden Davis didn't have a great senior year, and some other guy, Jordan Clark really did. Do I think Kerry Cooks would hesitate to kind of make the move in that direction and try to make the numbers work? No, I don't think he would. I mean, OU is willing to be aggressive in that way, and frankly, in a way they weren't in years past.
I was thinking about this the other day because I saw this happen, and I thought, there's always these stupid. It's like the ESPN thing with Paul George this weekend with Scissorhands. It's like Paul George's barber says he knows something big is getting ready to happen, and he's not his barber, by the way. He actually called us this morning. He's like, "I'm not his barber. That would be a breach of the confidentiality agreement between barber and client." But but you always see these dumb tweets and articles. It's like and we always stay out of that stuff. It's like, Baker Mayfield, is he getting married? And then you have to have your post with all the Insta post and on all that shit on it. And but I was thinking, if we did that, what's all the stupid stuff we'd have to do? Because the other day I noticed Woody Washington followed the Scoop account. So then do we have to do, what's Woody Washington doing following the Sooner Scoop account? And what does this mean for OU recruiting?
I wasn't supposed to write that story. I've been working really hard on that, putting that together.
I think we should do it and just take it to all new heights. Just get it to the point where we're following people to class. Or reporting if people don't go to a class.
Oh, I mean, we'll have to give Eddie copyright because we all know he's a bush hiding kind of guy. So
we could do that. I mean, if we want to go full throttle. Is Austin
Seibert going to have to drop his communications class because it doesn't appear he's going this semester?
No, Austin goes to class
now.
But you know who doesn't go to class, and then that's when we put in the fake news bulletin.
Basically, you just Kyler Murray.
You just got to get a job with ESPN, and then you can just throw shit on and wall.
Does Kyler Murray need to go to a single class this year? I mean, he needs to go to summer school.
I wouldn't if I was him.
No. I'd be shopping for houses online in the San Francisco area.
I mean, he's already throwing with...
Kyler Murray was seen at the local Porsche dealership instead of going to his History of the Modern World class.
Basically, if I had the money that Kyler Murray's about to have, OU'd be put on probation the next 2 years.
Do you like that I've finally invented a voice that's not a redneck for the show?
It's kind of a big voice.
It's my trailer voice.
Yes.
I was going to say, we'd have to get a big voice guy to do almost like the
redo our
audio.
intro since it's a year old now. Maybe should we do that? And since Bob's on the podcast,
I was going to say we probably need to get Bob included in there somewhere.
We would be having Viking style parties every weekend
if we had a big voice guy on retainer.
No, if I had the money that Kyler Murray was going to have.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that'd be kind of stupid to have parties just because you had a big voice guy on staff.
He's going to need to supply his own condoms, though. We don't want girls poking holes in them. That's stuff you have to think about when you're rich.
You just have to put them in a safe.
I don't know what he's going to do.
If he can afford a fingerprint scanner safe.
Maybe I'll ask him at Big 12 Media Day. That'll be the first question out of the gate.
No,
you think
not
he'll
if you're
even be
working
there?
here.
Do you think he'll even be there? Because OU hasn't announced.
That's a good question.
They haven't announced their guys yet.
Do they bring both Austin Kendall
They bring
and
none.
Kyler Murray?
They bring none.
I would be with Bob. I think none, just so they don't have to put those guys through it.
Remember, they didn't bring Blake and Trevor Knight, and you had Gabe Eichard had that line that he rehearsed.
But Trevor Knight was the representative, and then Baker Mayfield won the starting job.
Who would be the guys that would be there? If you had to pick, who would be OU's reps? Because there's not a lot of clear leadership.
Right. That's something we've talked about a lot. Who are going to be those guys? Do they go for
Rodney Anderson,
like a Neville Gallimore, Caleb Kelee, Parnell Motley?
It'll be Rodney Anderson.
Bobby Evans.
I was going to say, what about Bobby?
He was one of the first that came to mind.
I don't know if you'd want to.
I think Caleb Kelee has to be one of those guys because he's your best chance to be a really high first round draft.
So well spoken too.
Yeah.
That's going to help.
He'll make you look good.
The problem is you don't have like that Gabe Eichert that is a good quote.
Yeah, Gabe Eichert, Eric Stryker, Baker Mayfield. You've had some good guys the last few years.
Yeah, I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot of really just natural conversations. And, I mean, Lincoln has said that leadership is his biggest concern about this team. So, I mean, I think Caleb Kelee can be a natural speaker. We all kind of know him pretty well now.
Parnell Motley's good. I don't know if they want to give him that type of forum.
Yeah. If they did, it would signify that he's had a really good summer and that they really believe in him, which they do believe in him. But I think that you also have to keep that open that it's a three-man competition between he and Trey Brown and Trey Norwood. And then the two best are going to play. I don't think they'd want to do anything to dampen like Trey Brown's
I gotcha.
attitude.
So you don't want to think about transferring. Yeah.
Big 12 Media Days.
2 weeks. That's it. 2 weeks.
Not a waste of time like summer football camps,
but
very, very close.
I actually agree with that.
At least Oklahoma's going day one. We can get in, get out.
Everybody's waiting to hear what Kansas has to say.
Let's face it. This is from a public. I'm just going to fly right past that. From a public interest standpoint, this team still has to develop before people are really falling in love with it. I mean, people love Kyler Murray, regardless of whether he's the starting quarterback officially or not. And you're probably right. That probably means that they won't bring him because it's going to, they don't want to piss off Austin Kendall because they really want to make this seem like an open competition. But outside of that, nobody wants to hear from the defense right now until they're not giving up, not losing a game in the second half against Georgia, which they can't redo. And, it's like, we're going to hear from Neville Gallimore. What's he done last year? Like,
make a statement and bring Buki. Boom.
No, that won't happen. We couldn't even. Who was it? We tried to talk to people that just redshirted in the spring, and they wouldn't even let us talk to them.
Charleston Rambo, Levi Draper, Kennedy Brook. Don't get me started.
So Lincoln's been pretty hard line on the if you haven't played, you're not talking thing. Like Bob would at least let you talk to people if they redshirted.
Yes.
Or even guys that have taken snaps, like young guys we've been denied access to. So I don't see Lincoln be anybody that's halfway controversial. Yeah, I don't see him bringing them. So sign up for Sooner Scoop for all the excitement coming from Dallas or Frisco.
Seriously, you guys have the pump primed on that.
I know. It's like they're just.
I want to hear
my own little marketing geniuses.
I want to hear Lincoln Riley about the redshirt freshman rule with the 4 games. Let's
call him.
That's one thing I want to hear his thoughts.
It's July 2nd. I'll tell you what he's going to say. We're going to just have to play it by year. We'll see how these guys are once they are ready in August, once camp starts. And I don't know. That's a good question, though. We'll see.
He will say it's a good question because Riley does give us credit.
That's a good question.
You should say, well, I wouldn't ask a dumb question.
Obviously, it's a good question, Riley. Call him Riley. Hey, Riley. What are you gonna do about a Link? Yeah, a lot of people like Baker called him Link. Hey, Link.
Tell us about your prolific offense.
Okay, stop
it. Nope.
Do you think that Florida Atlantic will present some challenges?
You can take the nasty text from that one.
Or about the open transfer.
You'd have to figure out a way to download the podcast first to listen to it.
But yeah, we will be there in Frisco covering it all. We'll have better things to talk about by then, I promise. Or else everyone will get docked pay. We'll have things that you need to be subscribers to access.
It's going to be tough because you're going to have so much regional media with Kyler Murray being from Allen.
How this stuff goes.
It's going to be terrible.
Everybody's going to try and manufacture is Texas back.
It will be
bullshit.
insufferable. We should actually
Are we
Next
avoiding
week-
Texas or Texas OU the same day?
I think they're the next day.
Texas is Tuesday.
They've been doing Texas and OSU the day opposite of OU.
It's because that's the only way they can get people to stick around.
Yeah, but no, I'll have to stick around for day 2. But I guarantee you, it is going to be Tom Herman. He is about to turn it around. And
well, that's just an annual rite of passage. I mean,
and there are going to be 27 people from Dave Campbell's Texas football who only does one magazine a year.
Yeah.
And it's already published.
You
Like,
threw
are
for
they doing it
73
for next
touchdowns 5 years ago. Talk about it, please.
There really will be. Like, there will be some Allen weekly daily newspaper that is there that are probably going to ask him, like, have you been to the stadium since they fixed the cement cracks? What do you think?
Yeah. I think we should just flip the script on them and start interviewing them.
Why are you here?
Tell us about Kyler's 6-touchdown performance in the state semi.
Yeah,
8 years
exactly.
ago.
Well, the
Are
way
you surprised that Kyler didn't get more snaps last year?
Do you feel he was wrong because he didn't?
is Kyler Murray to blame for Allen not winning the state championship?
If Kyler
Last
Murray
year.
would have played the
No, they
second
won,
half
didn't
against
they?
Georgia, would they have won that and played in the
Exactly.
national
Should
championship?
Kyler Murray have played over Baker Mayfield?
I think I'm going to start that.
How
And we'll just
hard
go
were you?
around asking
How
them.
hard were you rooting for Baker Mayfield to get hurt so your boy Kyler Murray could come into the game last year?
think he should have been suspended the rest of the season.
Obviously.
Do you use that his one carry was a touchdown in the in his lone start?
It wasn't though.
Oh no, it was right. I always forget that he was. What do you have about like the 2 or something? It was
67
something
yards,
close.
yeah, and it got caught from behind.
And then Rodney Anderson ran it in the very next
Should
play.
OU be worried about his speed? Discuss. There's somebody out there that will do that.
Maybe we should make it our goal to get kicked out of Big 12 Media Days.
If you
I
want
don't
that
know
to
that
happen,
anybody
Carrie,
has ever
if you want that to happen,
had that
we can make
happen.
that happen.
That would make us more news than what the actual news that's going to be produced.
If you want that to happen,
I
let
don't
me know.
want that. I'm
We
joking
can
on a
make that happen.
podcast.
It has to not be with the OU side of
You
things.
can't run up to the dais and start giving your 9/11 joke series.
No, it would be more something along the lines of hanging around for Tom Herman on Saturday and asking him about his drinking problem and taking a private plane to Vegas weekly when he was head coach at Houston.
What does he think of his vodka, Tom?
Yeah.
Name?
Is he
Are you-
down for 60-1 on the Thunder to win?
Yeah, or
Has he considered changing the last name to Collins?
Yeah, you ask him that after you ask him the accusatory question about being an alcoholic and flying to Vegas.
Maybe Josh should be there too.
Oh my God!
could you confirm or deny?
Oh my God!
Oh no!
So now that you've really derailed the podcast, I wonder who's going to attack Bob
Who
Bowlsby
has a
this
more
year, or-
whorish wife? You, Tom.
All right, enough. Enough. We're gonna get kicked out before we even get there.
Yeah,
we're
should-
gonna lose our credentials because of a damn podcast.
And besides, I think you just brought up the name Eddie would like to go after far harder than Tom Herman.
Bob Bowlsby, yeah.
I kind of just feel sorry for him now. I'm past the anger stage. I mean,
Oh, you're
conference-
you're going through the steps. That's awesome.
and the
Eddie.
conference is going to survive, so we're all good there.
It looks good
There's
in
nothing to-
comparison
Well,
to
right-
the Pac-12.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
now it looks like the Big 12 is gonna be able to.
He looks like a genius compared to Larry Scott.
No, I mean it looks like they're gonna be able to pinch off a couple of Pac-12 teams before this thing's all said and done. Like Arizona and Arizona State might just come begging at some point.
Would you just try and go super conference and get 6?
Are there 6 teams from the Pac-12 that the Big 12 would want?
USC. I think Arizona and Arizona State.
I think are good. They make sense geographically.
UCLA, you have to take them. That's 4.
Yep.
I don't know that you want Oregon.
Stanford?
Stanford, yeah.
Just
I mean,
because of scholastics?
academics, absolutely.
I think you'd take Oregon and Washington.
I'd take Washington. That's 7, though. Now we're up to 7.
That's what I'm saying. You'd have to cut somebody.
I'd cut Oregon before Washington.
Is Oregon State the last school that you would want, even though they just won baseball?
No, Utah.
Utah, yeah?
I don't want Utah.
Utah
I don't
might
want
be up
Washington
there.
State.
Utah's not bad. You get Salt Lake City, you get that demographic, and
Yeah.
God knows that demographic's only growing at a rapid rate.
Well, they're all white, though.
Well, no, I just mean because they breed like crazy.
Thank you for explaining the joke.
Just wanted to,
Utah
And they all hate black people.
Oh, wow.
Donovan Mitchell's mother.
confirmed Mormons hate.
I'm not
people.
saying Mormons. I'm just saying the whole Utah thing about what Russ said.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Somebody
And before anyone gets
somebody
upset
attacked
about a
Donovan
religious
Mitchell's grandmother taking her his mom taking her trash out, saying don't dump your garbage in our apartment. Like she couldn't be living where she was living.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
he went online and bashed the guy.
That's wow.
That's incredible.
I'm just glad that there's a place out there that makes Oklahoma City look, good when it comes to race relations in the NBA. It's all about us. It's all about our selfishness. This has been a
go to the
terrible.
parties.
We're just horrible people on this podcast today.
Yeah, the last 12 minutes are you either love us or hate us for these last 12 minutes.
It's called riffing.
Hey, guys, I know we're probably not far from wrapping up. We should get into Marcus Major a little bit.
We definitely should. That was the talk of Atlanta. It was nuts.
It's crazy.
I think we were on the bus on the way to Falcon Stadium, right, when all this was kind of working itself out.
Well, it happened during media check-in day.
Yeah, I was going to say, when our text message started going crazy, was on the way to dinner that night.
Okay.
When we went to the sports bar place.
Oh, that's
Well,
right.
that's when Riley sent out the eyes.
That's
Yep.
right. That's what it was.
Are we going chronologically of how it all? Could we started hearing Wednesday afternoon
Sure.
that this was going down Saturday? Then we got to dinner and Lincoln.
And it was going to be a Saturday kind of thing where it was all going to be in a place and it was going to happen.
Correct.
That's right. He did the eyes almost right as we were walking in the restaurant. That's right.
Right. That was Wednesday night. And then I got in touch with Millwood coaches, and it sounded like that. Like there were a lot of just miscommunication, and some maybe people had agendas for one thing, agendas for another, and it just sounded like in the end, Marcus Major never wanted to do a video in the first place. No matter if people wanted him to do it, that was not what he was looking to do.
Well, yeah, and then we heard lots of different things. We heard that it was going to be at J.D. Reynolds' gym. We heard that, and immediately we kind of thought, well, let's see what happens here. Because we never really pressed for announcements or, to
weird.
be the place that people announce. But
That's pretty lame.
But, there was local TV, I think, that wanted to do a live commitment announcement.
Well, they were going to run it at 10.
Or they're going to do it and then run it at
Yes.
10 like it was, here's a big announcement.
Right.
And then there was, of course, the fan sites that wanted to do a commitment video. And they were trying to finagle their way into making him wait and doing it like the next week. And,
Yes.
And then in the end, Marcus just came out and said, guys, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want a ceremony. I don't want a TV special. I don't want a commitment video. I just want to put it out on Twitter, and then it'll be done. And that's exactly what he did. So,
It's a bygone era Marcus brings back for all of us.
I know. It's the bygone era when you announce on your own Twitter. A bygone era would be like you let someone announce it for you. But someone calls you and says, hey, are you committing? And they say, yes.
Yes.
And then you write the story.
You know what they say. How did you find out?
You write the story without a bunch of trainers calling and being pissed off at you for ruining a kid's moment. Because that happens all the time now, too. We're just attacking everything and everyone today.
All right, Josh. Why don't you break down Marcus's game just a bit?
Yeah, he's a guy that you watch on tape and you can see. I mean, the size, the speed, all of those things. But until I had a chance to watch him live, the two things that really surprised me at the Dallas Adidas camp were his ability as a receiver, which, as I came to find out afterward, he was a guy that had played mostly receiver at Millwood up until the previous year, his junior season. So it made sense that he was that adept at it. But the thing that really does surprise you is I think there's a tendency when you see Millwood to write off some of what you're seeing because, well, they're just, they're so much more talented than everybody they're facing, and they are. There's no question about it. But you watch Marcus out there with guys like Noah Cain and other elite backs around Texas, guys that are, committed to Colorado and some of these other places, and you think he's as good as anybody here. I mean, I think Marcus Major has worlds of potential. When I saw him, I was the first time I watched his tape, he didn't have any offers. And I couldn't think of – I was like, I'm missing something here. Something doesn't make sense because this guy's at Millwood. Demarion Houston has at least 10 offers at that point. Why doesn't this guy have every one of the same offers? Because he looks outstanding. And I think it was just because, like I said, he played receiver. There wasn't that information on him. But once people started to notice him, I mean, he's the most college – applicable player on a roster that probably has 5-6 legitimate Division I players down the line at one point or another. So Major is, like I said, he's a talented receiver, very big, very strong, a guy that's very powerful in the lower body, but he's already almost 200 pounds, and I think he could carry 10 or 15 more without a bit of problem. I mean, he still has a lot of room to fill out. So this is a guy that I realize is not going to be as exciting for some because he's a 3-star and all that sort of thing. I think he'll probably end up a 4-star, might even end up in the Rivals 250 before it's all said and done. So this is a guy that means more to Oklahoma than maybe is readily, or that is off than is, I guess, readily apparent, I guess would be the word I'm searching for and stumbling to.
You give Memphis credit. They started it once again. They're doing such a great job with the state, and Major's another example. Just like Jalen Redmond, Memphis gets in there first. At least it gets the ball rolling, and then you start seeing some of those major schools start to make their play.
Memphis is kind of like the local gigolo, though, aren't they?
Yeah, they know their place.
I mean, they go after pretty much anything and everything and just hope.
And it's not working, which is kind of unfortunate. Nick Robinson, Quindon Lewis, and I don't know how much longer they'll keep going to the state if it's not panning out.
Yeah, I mean, but they've got to know. They've got to be hitting on some guys at OU and OSU just flat out. I mean, if they don't want anything to do with them, maybe you got to kind of take a hint. Like, okay, like you got to maybe do like the Nick Robinson thing. Everybody knew there were maybe some red flags there. And I mean, and I knew because you guys. I mean, I'm not trying to be like, say I know everything. I'm just saying, it was kind of a whisper around him the entire time.
Well, and it's a worthy risk because if it pays off, you get a player that you had no business signing. I mean, if Nick Robinson didn't have red flags, he's a borderline OU guy. But with all the stuff around him, Memphis can sign a guy like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's a worthy chance. And if he what are you really worse for having signed him? I mean, did you really lose something? Was that going to go to a player that possibly had NFL potential? Probably not. And Nick did. So, for him to now quit and he's playing JC basketball. I mean, Nick's as a former Putnam West alum, I would love to defend Nick's every decision, but he does some things that don't make much sense.
I mean, look, if you're talking about who should Memphis be signing, it's guys like Cade Mashburn. I mean, it's guys that the big schools in state like, but they just don't quite have room for them, or they've got other guys that are just a little bit better. I mean, like Trace Ford's a pretty good example of that. I mean, he'll be able to go to OSU if he wants to go there. But, I just think there's a lot of guys, and Cole Mashburn's another really good example. Like, they didn't really, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Tech is going to be where he ends up or, how that works out. But those are the kind of guys that they have to win in Oklahoma.
Well, look at the guy they've had forever that's had a really nice career, Jackson Dillon from Ringling. I mean,
Tito Wyndham was playing for him last year, right?
What's that?
Tito Wyndham was playing for him last year, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's and Dillon. I mean, Dillon's got a chance to be a late NFL type guy. I mean, he's been a good long-term player for them, and they just projected him out. And he was a guy that OU kind of liked, but they just, they knew it was going to be several years before he could help them. And they had guys that were more readily, available and more ready to help.
Now, it's been, you've been in the dead period, and I think you kind of really notice that Lincoln Riley, he's kind of starting to build up the momentum again, starting to mention the ChampUBBQ the other day for the first time, really kind of starting to be, you've got the opening going on, you had the 5-star, you got a lot of buzz out there about OU recruits right now, a lot of people publicly, so it's interesting to kind of see Riley try and capitalize on that right now, but really this is going to be a month-long march to build up this excitement for the closest thing they can come to the spring game.
Yeah, it feels like heading into it, maybe 2 commits before the barbecue, and then at the event, I think you got to be shooting for 3 or 4. You kind of set the bar last year with Jeffrey Carter, Jace McClellan, and Jalen Redmond. That now it's almost like you have to do that. You can't take a step back. That shows that you're not being as progressive and you're not dominating as much as people want to say. At least that'll be the perception of everything. But I think July will be a very nice month.
Really, I mean, is ChampUBBQ probably the biggest? If you're going to talk about types of recruits, probably biggest for the defensive side of the ball. Kind of try and build some momentum there finally.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
No, I mean it could be. I think there's at least one guy I'm pretty aware of that I think and we've kind of hinted at him at some of the notes threads and things like that on the board. That would obviously be a huge coup for Oklahoma. The news that Dax Hill is now probably going to be there. I mean, I don't think it's cemented, but we've kind of hinted back and forth that he's been telling OU for a while that he was going to come in July. And if they can get him to actually commit to the barbecue where there's all the excitement, there's lots of other guys around, maybe you can really start finally getting some momentum in that situation where I think Oklahoma really treading water is not the right word, but, they're not really distancing themselves from anybody. They haven't really had that chance to sell him on much, and that would be a big opportunity to do it. And frankly, at this point, he's the biggest guy on the board. I mean, he is, to me, what they do in the secondary from here on out is really going to determine a lot of how you look at this class.
And really, one of the biggest parts of this is surrounding non-committed guys with committed guys and really giving them a chance to kind of break down some of those walls and really recruit from within a little bit.
Right, and that's something that they've done so well here the last couple of years, and that's the benefit of building such a big class so early in the cycle, because you just let those guys go to work for you, and they totally will. And not only will it be player on player, it's going to be parent on parent. Now that the 2018 class is in, Corwin Walker was huge for this 2018 class. I mean, I don't know how much it paid off with every single guy, but the fact that him and Bray were at everything, especially with Daryl Simpson, I know they played a huge role there, but when you show up to every single thing, you're showing those other parents that this is a safe, comfortable place where your kid is going to be taken care of, and that is big for the parent just as much as that relationship player to player is when it comes to the kids.
And this will be the third one, right? Like they did one with Bob.
They did one
when they played
Bob.
softball, water ball,
Right.
whatever, water balloon softball, or whatever it was.
The big thing there, they offered Patrick Field, and they put the seeds in place to get Kenneth Murray.
So, I mean, this will be the third one overall, the second one with Annie Hansen. So you have to imagine
First.
It'll be the first one?
Yeah,
Okay.
because she wasn't hired until the first week of the
But
season.
you got to think that Drew Hill, has been taking notes, knows what works, what works, doesn't work. The facilities are now completely done, which they weren't during the first one. They were during the second, but not quite completely. I think maybe they were completely. No, they were still kind of finishing up, a few things here and there. So,
yeah, because when you guys took that tour, it was still a little bit underwork.
Yeah. So, I mean, this will be the first time they can completely show, everything that in the new facility completely finished. So, I don't know what they'll do different, but I'm sure there's some things that are going to be streamlined and make it, a little bit more impressive.
Yeah, I think when you look at last year, they brought back the water balloon stuff, but then they did a pie eating thing, and that was a little bit new. You had a lot of people being hit in the face with that, and yeah, I mean, they got figured out. That's what Lincoln Riley always says, not about, going with the trend, but setting the trend. And so we'll see what they do here in 4 weeks.
And then, of course, real football.
That's when I'll be interested.
Is it me, or is this Eddie's quietest podcast ever?
I'm pretty tired. I'm still really tired from this weekend.
I would say Eddie's had some of his best, most awful moments in this podcast.
Oh, there was the one where Eddie was literally just like dead, and he hardly spoke.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was about. How long? What time did that end?
We got out of there about 1.
Okay.
Proceeded to go
to another party.
Have like 50 lunch boxes at Edna's.
Everybody
never
just
a
buzzing.
bad time of night to have a drink at Edna's.
That was pretty fun. Pretty
Let
fun.
me explain. Or let me kind of explain what happened on the day. This is the Russell Westbrook Paul George party, and so I hear from a buddy, and he sends me the invitation through text. And the son of a bitch blacked out the address. So I knew there was something going on at Lake Arcadia in Edmond, and then you start tweeting about the big party, and I hit you back, and I said, "Oh, you mean the one in Edmond?" Kind of like, haha, I know too. And so you said, "I'm going to find a way to get to this party."
Yeah.
Like you were determined. Like this was probably
I'm going to go. I'm going to this party.
2:00 in the afternoon, maybe.
Yeah, because you had to have like it was super security. I mean, it was intense.
Because it's out at an estate. Josh, what the hell are you doing? It was out at like an estate, and they have like a fence you have to walk up to. Like, where did you park? Did they valet everything?
I guess. I mean, we had a driver.
Oh, you Ubered out there.
Went. Yeah.
So you get out there, and what, you have to show something?
Yeah, you had to show an ID, and then they had to check you off.
So your name was on a list.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they gave you a wristband. Once you got the wristband, you were in though.
And you could do whatever.
They ran out of vodka. I mean, it was a
drinks
party.
were free. It was an open bar.
I'm never drinking liquor again without crushed ice. Beer, wine, liquor, whatever you wanted.
I wonder if they got a liquor, a vodka company to just give them the vodka.
I mean, they ran out of it, so I don't know who paid for it, but I drank my fair share. It was incredible.
And how long did Nas play?
Couldn't tell you.
Didn't see any of it?
No, I was there. I mean, it just
went hard and
went pretty
lost
hard.
Track of time.
Yeah. Drank all day Saturday. It was good.
Yeah, because you were already drinking Saturday when you contacted me.
Little pool party.
Little darty.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Did you see anyone else famous there?
I mean, I couldn't tell you.
You wouldn't, or you couldn't?
No, I couldn't. I was there. I just don't remember.
You were that blacked out.
Got pretty drunk. Yesterday was a...
But you do remember high-fiving Paul George.
I do remember that.
And Russ?
I don't think so.
Did you see Russ's Brody?
Yeah, he was up there dancing on the stage.
Trey?
He was up there. See? Paparazzi pics.
That is Russ. Did you put those anywhere, or did you keep them for yourself?
Just keeping them for myself. Little J.O. material.
We thought maybe they would confiscate cell phones.
Yeah, somebody put it out there that there was a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
That couldn't have been further from the truth.
They didn't care.
And the party had its own hashtag.
I think people just felt like it made it more important if you had to sign an NDA, they were that much more exclusive to be invited to the party.
It was fun. It's fun to say that I was there, for sure.
Josh, any inquisition from you?
No. I'm proud that Eddie was, a part of the recruiting process of Paul George, that he reeled him in for Oklahoma City. Well done, Eddie.
I think he was already decided.
No, I'm pretty sure Paul signed it that night at the party. Eddie
After he
got
saw
him.
Blackout Ed.
Yep, exactly.
Once he had the high five, it was done.
Paul woke up and he's like, "What the hell did I do?" And his agent had to tell him, "You faxed it in, brother."
Well, you've proved your street cred once again, Eddie. You are part of the social elite in Oklahoma City.
Thank you.
There's nothing that you can't do or get
Well,
into.
there's one thing that I don't think I'll be able to do. That would be tenfold of going to Russ's party.
Oh, God. What?
I don't think I'm going to get invited to Baker's wedding.
Oh, yeah. You've already put that out there.
He asked when the bachelor party
out
was.
Where is she from? Nebraska?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So it's going to be in Nebraska.
Did you see the hottest take of the day?
Yes.
The guy that should the Browns be concerned with their rookie quarterback getting engaged?
I did see that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say this lightly. That guy needs to play in traffic.
Glad I didn't have to beat that.
I think everybody knows what that means.
I thought it was one of the best things that has ever happened that they screwed up that headline saying Baker Mayfield
no, it's pretty
engaged
funny. How did
to
that
girlfriend
even?
Brooke Pryor.
How did that get?
Because when
Brooke tweeted about it and
put
she was
video from the Instagram video embedded into her tweet, so that if you're not paying attention and you're so rushed to I've got to get out there, you would have thought it was her.
That's what you get for clickbait, trying to get your story out there and not knowing who it was.
Yeah, that was a huge mistake. About as big as it gets.
I hope somebody got fired and then had to go home and tell their wife why they got fired. And
no,
then
you don't.
That person left them, and now they're lonely
and took the
sad.
kids.
Yeah, and they never see their father again. And she remarries.
Yeah, this is one of your most awful days ever.
Possibly to somebody else.
Who's a better journalist.
Yeah, and then they send him cards every Father's Day.
Saying, how are you liking your new family? Oops.
How's it
That's
feel
mine now.
How's it feel like to have the same relationship as Katie has with his father?
Oh, my Lord.
Okay. I don't know that we could find another way to end this podcast any better than that. But congratulations.
Could have been a Father's Day.
Congratulations, Baker and Brooke, on your engagement.
Mm-hmm. Here.
Emily, you get to marry Teddy. Congratulations, Teddy. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Unofficial 40. We'll be back next week. It'll probably be an even crazier show.
And you might have some fireworks in the meantime.
Do we want to quickly... is there anything that we didn't talk about last week that we needed to hit on recruiting trail-wise? Like Chris Steele or anything like that? Have we adequately covered that? No, we never talked about it. Don't need to talk about it.
I don't anticipate Chris Steele's decision going great for Oklahoma.
The fireworks was my hint.
Mm-hmm. There might be something in that.
All right, I'll just leave it at that for you recruiting junkies to decipher. All right, that's going to do it for this edition. We'll see you guys again next week. Sorry I missed you last week, but hopefully getting one out early this week makes up for that. So thanks to Josh McQuistion, Eddie Radosevich, Bob Przybylo. Maybe someday we will get Bob in the new intro. I need to talk to the big voice guy about that. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time right back here on the Unofficial 40 on Soonerscoop.com.
Podcasts from Soonerscoop.com.